Megan, do commercial loans have a pre-approval process like residential loans would have?
I get this question all the time.
Okay.
No, they don't.
Okay.
So when we're looking at commercial lending, it is really deal driven. So we're looking at the specifics of the property that they're going to purchase and the cash flow of that property.
Okay. So you're more looking at what the property can produce. So what if it's not already making cash flow?
So unstabilized properties or vacant properties can be a bit of a concern. We are looking, if we're talking about investments, so we would be looking for long-term tenants in place.
Okay, okay. And you can't, but if somebody wanted to start, like if they bought a commercial building and wanted to start a business, they can do that.
Yep, so
Yeah.
that would be considered an owner-occupied property.
Okay, but that's
Um,
still part of that commercial loan
it is,
process.
yep.
Yeah. So what goes into the lending? What are you looking for? What do you look for first?
The first thing we're always going to look at, whether it's an investment property or an owner-occupied property, is the cash flow of the property.
Okay.
And when we're talking about investments, that's going to be the lease or leases that are in place. And if we're talking about an owner-occupied property, we're going to look at the cash flow of the business that's operating out of that property.
Okay. All right. Do you look into like the leases that are already in place and kind of dig into all those
Yep.
things?
We
Yeah.
would request copies of the leases. We would
Okay.
verify that it's long-term leases in place. We don't typically lend to short-term, month-to-month leases of that nature.
Okay. So like if somebody bought a house for an Airbnb or something, it's not commercial, a
Correct.
commercial loan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What kind of down payments are we talking?
So if we are looking at an investment property, we'd be looking at 75% loan to value. And if we are talking about an owner-occupied property, we can go up to 85% loan to value.
Okay. So then that's only 15% down.
15% down for owner-occupied and 25% down for investor.
Okay, so a lot of people think it's 20% or more for an owner occupied if they want to have a business and a commercial property. So if they're doing that owner occupancy, are there other things you're looking at since there won't be a cash flow happening?
Well, we're going to be looking at the cash flow of the business that is
Okay.
going to operate out of there. So
That
if
makes sense.
it's ABC Auto Repair Shop that's going to be operating out of the commercial property, we're going to dig into those tax returns and look to see if they can support the debt.
Okay, so it's all about supporting the debt
It
of
is.
the
Yep.
property.
Yep.
All right. How long does it take to close? I know a lot of times they say, "Oh, it could take a year to close on," or we see these properties pending for a long time. What's holding everything up?
So typically, I always say after approval, we can close 45 to 60 days. And that timeline is specifically driven by third-party reports. So we're going to order the appraisal. A commercial appraisal can take 3 to 5 weeks. We're going to do environmental due diligence. If a phase 1 environmental study is required on a property, that could take 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
If there's other extenuating circumstances, those timelines can be extended some, but we should really, after approval, be able to close a commercial loan in 45 to 60 days.
Okay, and so I guess it just like residential depends on that appraisal,
Yep.
how it comes back, what are the findings, and do they need to do more? So
Correct. Yep.
kind of on the same lines.
Yep.
So good. So it can be quick if
It can
everything's
be.
in place.
Yep.
Yeah. And so there's no pre-approval. So how, as a real estate agent, if I have a commercial buyer who I'm helping, how do I let the seller know that this person is able to purchase their property that we're looking at? Get through that pre-approval mentality that we're used to.
So I think introducing the borrower to a bank sooner than later.
Okay.
Let's start collecting the financials. Let's start running the cash flows. Let's collect a package and get it into underwriting.
Okay.
That at that point, underwriting can take 7 to 10 days. And then we can give you a conditional approval, which you can provide to the seller's
nice.
agent.
Okay.
And then at that point, we're doing our due diligence on the back end to collect additional documents, get the appraisal, the environmental stuff. But I think engaging with a bank partner sooner than later
Okay.
really helps to build the confidence with the seller as well.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that. So they can just go ahead and start submitting things and kind of get a plan in place
Yeah.
and get that.
And they could draft a LOI to the
Yeah.
seller, expressing their interest, and then upon approval from the bank, then at that point
Move
you can
forward.
do an executed sales agreement.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I've heard sometimes buyers will get a packet from the bank, they'll be interested in commercial property, get a packet from the bank and be completely overwhelmed with that. But earlier you were telling me that you have solutions for that.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
never just going to give someone a packet and say, this
Yeah.
is what I need,
Yeah.
fill all this out and get it back to me.
Yeah.
I meet the customers where they are. And if they're running a business, I'm going to go to their business. I mean, they're busy running their business and all the happenings of the day. So I'd be happy to sit down, go over all of the documents. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Okay.
Just take it piece by piece.
Okay, that's great. I mean, so you're local,
I
right?
am.
And cover all of Delaware, or where are you?
I typically am Middletown, Delaware City, all the way down to the
Okay.
beaches, Ocean View.
Perfect.
But, I can lend in our entire footprint of WSFS, so that's PA, New Jersey, Delaware, and parts of Maryland.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great to know that you'll go visit the
Yeah.
business or, meet them and
Well, and another level to that is if I'm lending on a property, I physically go to the property.
you check it
I
out.
do a site
Yeah.
visit.
Yeah.
I want to see what it looks like. I'm not necessarily going in. If it's an owner-occupied property and maybe they've been renting there for years, I'll go in, meet with them right at the property.
Okay, that's really great. That's great service, and so that's great to know. So it sounds like they'll get a packet. They might be able to get an underwriting approval, before looking or during that LOI process. It's all going to come down to that appraisal, and it could close pretty quickly.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So that's great to know. Down payments doesn't have to be scary.
It doesn't have to be scary.
Yeah. All right. What else should we know about the commercial lending side?
Oh gosh. I think it's all about being prepared.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you had asked me was what builds confidence. So when I'm talking to someone and they say, here's what could go wrong and here's my solution.
Yeah.
Here's what I have in place. Here's the liquidity that I have outside of this transaction. I've got strong W-2 income. I have savings. I have
Yeah.
marketable securities. I have assets outside of this transaction. So if there are unexpected repairs, if there are vacancies in the future, this is how I'm prepared to combat that and be prepared.
All right. And occasionally I get flyers that say that you're having, some good interest rates. A lot of people think that commercial lending has higher interest rates, but sometimes looking at your flyers, I've seen that commercial interest rates were lower at the time
Yeah.
than residential.
Yeah.
So the interest rates are pretty competitive.
Yeah. We're in the low sixes right now.
Okay. All right.
So it doesn't, I've heard someone called me recently and they were quoted a rate in the eights.
Oh, okay.
So
So you can beat that.
we can beat that.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it's not a big scary number. It doesn't
No,
have to
It
be.
does not have to be.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And is there any limit at all on how big a loan can be or small?
No, there's not a limit. There's different, if it goes above a certain threshold, it might go to our commercial team, but there's no
Okay.
hard and fast cutoffs.
Okay. And then is there any kind of programs for we see a lot of the small business programs. Do you help with that? Are you connected with that? Or if somebody just, they have a business idea, they see this commercial property and they want to get started on doing something new, what is their first step?
Definitely, engaging with the bank. We're the trusted advisors. That's what
Yeah.
we want to partner with them. And there's times where this isn't, the best opportunity or not right now.
Not at this time. Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of programs within the state of Delaware. There's SCORE, there's the SBDC that work with businesses all the way from, startups, brand new, just getting into a business, to very established businesses that, maybe just need to restructure or look at
Okay.
something a little differently.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a lot of resources out there. Will you help people get connected with
Yeah,
those resources if they need it?
absolutely.
Okay. All right. So one big takeaway, if somebody's out there watching and they're like, you know what, there's a commercial property they've had an eye on, they want to expand their business or maybe start a second location. I know you're going to say call you, but what could they get ready as far as paperwork?
We're going to request tax returns.
Okay.
So making sure, and another thing is, making sure that all of your personal credit is up to par.
Okay, so you're going to look at personal credit
We are.
too.
Yep.
Okay.
So when we're doing a commercial loan, we're looking at the cash flow of the property, but we're also looking at the strength of the guarantor.
Okay.
So we do dig into the personal financial statement of the borrower. We're going to pull their credit. If there's delinquencies or anything that we need to clear up, it's always important to be transparent from the door.
Yeah.
A credit surprise could kill a deal.
Yeah, and I think that people need to understand that when they call a lender, they call you, you're right there up front, being transparent in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're going to either say, okay, let's fix this before we move forward,
Yeah.
right? Or, whatever the plan may be. But you're not going to just close the door on them,
No.
And I think
And
people need to
there's-
realize that.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's prospective buyers or clients that I've been working with for 2 years. And we've been talking about it and, hey,
Getting
look
them
at this
ready.
property. This is what I see. This is the cash flow that there is. So sometimes it's not right now, but I have clients that I've been working with for years.
What
And
is like a good story of someone that you worked with for a long time and then actually did close and have a success?
Oh gosh, I have so many of those.
Okay.
And I love being out and meeting the businesses and learning more about them. And sometimes it's just, maybe they need a line of credit right now, but ultimately their goal is to buy that commercial property, the forever home for their business.
Yeah.
And just being with them on that journey as they're, saving and planning and looking, it's an amazing experience.
I'm sure. Yeah, it is really neat to see people have success and something that you were kind of a part of and they, were able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as a commercial real estate agent, what are you seeing?
So I see a lot of people have a lot of dreams, where they're like, oh, I would love this space, but they don't know how to get started. Or they feel like they don't have cash, so they don't understand that process. And I've referred some people with your information, but then they might get overwhelmed. So that overwhelmed feeling of it seems like a lot, but what I hear you saying is that it can be, but you're here to help with that, and you can take those baby steps to get there.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people want that instant, like, oh, I love that, I love this idea, I want to go with it and start tomorrow. But they can start, it just might not be tomorrow. So I see a lot of that hesitation to even start that lending process, maybe because it's scary or whatever. But sitting and learning from you today, it's not scary.
No.
It can be quick. It doesn't have to take long. Everything can fall right into place.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Are there commercial properties that you're seeing that are kind of sitting on the market a little longer?
There are, but I'm helping a few different clients, and there's not a lot to choose from. I would say under the 500K range.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that are priced high. There's some things that do sit on the market, but sometimes, I think as a commercial agent, I always look at the numbers for people too. So the numbers have to make sense.
Yeah.
And I know that for the lending side too, we have to see if there's tenants there, what are they paying? And is it enough to pay that loan? And sometimes if that doesn't work out, it's hard. But I think what people don't need to realize is that everything is negotiable.
Right.
And we need to at least try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the, everyone is, not everyone, people are much more comfortable with residential.
Yes.
So you go to the bank, you get a pre-approval. I can buy a home up to $500,000.
Right.
And I think on the commercial side is you might have a property that is absolutely beautiful and is worth $500,000.
Yeah.
But it might not be financeable if it's vacant, if the tenants are, underpaying. on rent.
Yeah.
So it's really digging into the numbers, and
What if it needs a lot of work? That's different too. Yeah.
that is, yeah. And that's why it's also important to have liquidity outside of the transaction. So I never want to see a borrower put everything that they have into this property and, have nothing outside of this transaction. So
Yeah.
you have to have a reserve, whether it's insurance increases down the road,
Yeah.
property reassessment, which has been a huge topic,
Yeah.
especially in Delaware.
Yeah.
There could be unexpected vacancies or repairs, maintenance, deferred maintenance that hadn't been done to the property.
Yeah.
So,
And sometimes I think commercial buyers will look for that value add. But if you're saying that it could be financed, they have to have that cash sitting aside to do that. Or I guess they could get a private money loan, maybe.
Sure.
So that could come into play
yeah.
as well.
And a lot of, if they have their primary residence and they have substantial equity in that, a lot of times I see people do a home equity line of credit to also inject.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And we are a full service bank, so whether it is business solutions, lending, deposit accounts, or on the personal side, home equities, personal mortgages, we are really a one-stop shop.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I mean, those are all good points. And WSFS they've been around a long time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very local to the area. And they have branches all throughout the state.
All throughout the state.
Yeah. So you can probably find one almost in every town, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's all very helpful. What about flood zones? If a property's in a flood zone?
There is flood insurance, and that can be extremely costly, and that is another thing that, goes into the cash
Okay.
flow of the property.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Getting a quote,
Yep.
finding out how much that is going to be and how
Yep.
that's going to affect the cash flow and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a factor that someone initially right off the bat might not think of or realize.
Yeah.
The increased cost due to having flood insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So, as an agent, I always try to look first. Is this a flood zone? Is there, we have these blue line streams in Delaware. We have wetlands. We have all these things that could impact the value.
And that's so important to partner with a commercial agent that knows all of this and is doing some of the due diligence to steer their client in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, great. How can people reach you if they want to get started?
Phone, email, text, anytime, day and night. I'm always available. You're free to, I'd love if you shared my contact information.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description, sure. And you can give your number now if you'd want
Sure.
to. Yeah.
It is 302-632-0631.
Okay, so Megan Allen, WSFS Bank. Do you have an official title?
I am Vice President, Business Banking Relationship Manager.
Okay, great. So when people call, they'll maybe talk to you, or
They're going to talk to me.
They're going to talk to you.
They're going to talk directly to me.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Megan, for meeting today. This has been great. A lot of helpful info.
Yes.
I hope people can take something away from it, and that we'll give you a call.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, sure. All right, thanks.
Bye.